10 Best Movies That Mess With Your Mind at First Watch. Depending on how much you value your brain, there are some of us who delight in having our minds completely fucked. And there are some movies that do this better than others. Although The Others is never particularly difficult to understand, there are several moments in the film, specifically its now famous plot twist in the third act, that will force audiences to see the film in a completely different way through some mind-bending and expertly plotted reveals. The Others has become one of the most popular supernatural horrors of this century, and it's one of the first that people point to when looking for the genre's most intriguing entries. The Matrix was widely praised upon release for its inventive storytelling and bold narrative, but it wasn't until several years later that it really gathered attention as one of the greatest sci-fi movies of this generation. The film takes an idea that has been discussed for centuries and brings it to life in a way that's fitting for today's modern age. It's for this reason that The Matrix has grown so beloved by movie fans and critics alike, as it bends this common idea of reality and morphs it into something that takes a while to truly understand. Christian Bale stars as Trevor Resnick in The Machinist, a film that truly plays out like a puzzle and doesn't offer its true meaning to the audience until the very end. Its unusual structure is the film's primary selling point, as it's impossible to know exactly where the story is going to go next. It's not easily forgotten, and that's entirely a result of its mind-bending premise. Time travel movies will always have a hint of mind-bending storytelling in them, and 12 Monkeys is arguably one of the best time travel movies ever made. The concept of time travel is intrinsically difficult to understand, but 12 Monkeys makes sure that all the answers are there throughout the story if you know where to look. In previous films such as Back to the Future, time travel had always been somewhat of a novelty, but 12 Monkeys proves that it has the capacity to be something much darker. David Fincher may be best known for his gritty crime dramas, but he has also proven on several occasions that he knows how to get inside his audience's minds with psychological thrillers such as The Game. It's never 100% clear what's going on in this unsettling thriller, which is exactly why the film is so much fun to watch. Although everything is explained at the end, there are elements of Fincher's intricate story that audiences probably won't notice until a second watch, which is proof of a well-plotted tale. David Lynch is pretty much the king when it comes to movies that are difficult to understand after just one viewing, and his magnum opus Mulholland Drive is probably the most obvious example of how he does this so effectively. Although the film is difficult to comprehend at times, it's never unenjoyable or lacking in style. Mulholland Drive is full of David Lynch's filmmaking trademarks, so it's no wonder that his fans often cite this as his best movie so far. Memento is probably one of the first movies that comes to mind when discussing those that are difficult to understand, much like many of the stories that have been birthed from the creative mind of Christopher Nolan. Memento is perhaps his most jarring and overwhelming to date in the best way possible. The story is told non-linearly, with each sequence taking place before the last. It's not easy to wrap one's head around at first, but after a few scenes, everything becomes much clearer. Alex Garland's Annihilation is tragically overlooked when discussing some of the best sci-fi movies of the past decade, and perhaps that's due to many audiences' misunderstanding of the film's confusing ending. Unlike many directors, Garland doesn't feel the need to offer a clear conclusion to his story, leaving it up to interpretation. Also written and directed by Christopher Nolan, The Prestige tells the story of two illusionist brothers and the increasingly dangerous rivalry that threatens their professional lives. It features one of the most memorable and perfectly executed plot twists in cinema history, which may require multiple viewings to finally understand. It's this overwhelming ambition and flawless execution that makes The Prestige one of Christopher Nolan's best movies to date. Denis Villeneuve is one of the biggest names in sci-fi right now, and Arrival is the biggest reason for this. Perhaps his most impressive achievement to date, the story follows a team of linguists as they attempt to communicate with non-verbal alien lifeforms, which in turn teaches them a lot about humanity. There's a twist in the final act of Arrival which completely shifts the narrative, putting it in a totally different perspective and making all of the film's mysteries much clearer.